A very good afternoon and welcome to Africa Today. I am Udwak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, National Assembly resumes 2023 budget. CJN confirmation top agenda. Still on the headlines, Equatorial Guinea repeals death penalty law. Also on the headlines, Tunisia police detain former prime minister. And on sports, South Africa makes bid to host 2027 Women's World Cup. And now the news in detail. The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has said that the coming together of leaders from different parts of the globe to celebrate the life of the late Queen Elizabeth II and attend a funeral is a show of solidarity and goodwill by people from around the world. He said this on Monday in London during a media chat with journalists after attending the state funeral service of the late Queen of England at Westminster Abbey. Osinbajo said the gathering was also a testament to the Brotherhood of Nations.
A historic event and one that is unlikely to happen perhaps in another lifetime. Just the sheer, just the sheer enormity of all that's happened, the gathering of leaders from everywhere, the goodwill, the good wishes, and all of that from practically everywhere in the world. For Nigeria and for the Commonwealth, I think this has been very ennobling, very strengthening, and I'm sure that King Charles himself felt, somewhat not just the honor of having so many people come by, but also the reassurance that there is a brotherhood across the world, and that the common.
After the funeral service at Westminster Abbey, Osinbajo and all the foreign dignitaries were hosted to a reception by the UK Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, James Cleverly. Away from that story, the National Assembly will on Tuesday, today, resume from its 2-month annual recess with the lingering crisis between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that is the ASUU, ASU being one of the issues of national importance topping the agenda. Already, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has summoned a stakeholders meeting at the National Assembly complex. Gbajabiamila had invited the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, the Minister of Labor, Employment and Productivity, Chris Ngige, the Minister of Education, Adamu, the national leadership of ASU, and other critical stakeholders to resolve the crisis that led to lecturers shutting down the universities for over 7 months. Minister of Finance disclosed that the President, Muhammadu Buhari, had transmitted the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper to the National Assembly for consideration and passage. Reports showed that the Senate and House Finance Committees have held separate hearings on the proposed MTEF and FSP. Lawan and Gbajabiamila are expected to read out Buhari's cover letter on the MTEF and FSP, after which the committees are expected to lay their reports on it anytime after. Still on the striking Academic Staff Union of Universities, that is ASU, where the union have dismissed resumption notices by university authorities directing students to appear for lectures amid the 7-month strike. The organization said its strike remained unshakable as those institutions were still under lock and key. The vice president of ASU and its former branch chairman at the University of Jos, Chris Piwuna, said these in an interview. He was reacting to the announcement by Public Relations Officer, that is the PRO of Imo State University Owerri, Ralph Njoku, that it had pulled out of the ASU nationwide strike and consequently asked the students and staff members to resume school on Tuesday, September 20. According to him, IMSU had decided to pull out of the lingering strike in the interest of the students and staff of the institution, but Piwuna mocked the university, saying ASU would remain unshaken. Still in the news, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that is the NDLEA, have busted a major warehouse in a secluded estate in Ikorodu area of Lagos, where 1.8 tons, that is 1,855 kilograms, of the illicit drugs worth more than $278,250,000, equivalent of about 194,775 million naira in street value, was seized in what appears to be the biggest singular cocaine seizure in the history of Nigeria's premier anti-narcotic agency. According to NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi, at least 4 drug barons, including a Jamaican and the warehouse manager, have been arrested in the well-coordinated and intelligence-led operation that lasted 2 days across different locations in Lagos State. He said the kingpins of the cocaine cartel in custody include Messrs. Soji Jibril, 69, an indigene of Ibadan, Oyo State; Emmanuel Choko, 65, who hails from Anambra State, Equilobia precisely; Wasiu Akinade, 53, from Ibadan, Oyo State; Sunday Ogunteluru, Lure, 53, from Okitikupa, Ondo State; and Kelvin Smith, 42, a native of Kingston, Jamaica, who are all members of an international drug syndicate that the agency has been trailing since 2018.
This is the highest singular seizure of cocaine in the history of this agency. What you have here comes to over $278 million, which in street value, if you convert that to Nigerian naira, you are talking of over 194 billion naira. And the men you find behind there, they are members of an international syndicate that the agency has been on their trail since 2018. And just lo and behold, in few days, by the grace of God, we were able to track them down to this building. This building, the man, please, I'm not talking to you. This building, it looks unoccupied, but then it's a warehouse for this international cartel. And we're glad that this has brought an end to the operation.
News from other parts of West Africa as we look at Equatorial Guinea and others as we return from this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Africa Today on Hills TV. Equatorial Guinea President Theodora Obiang Nguema Obasanjo abolished the death penalty, state television announced on Monday, citing a new law signed by the president's son, who serves as one of the country's vice presidents, lauded the move he called historic. According to Newsman, it was gathered that the last official execution in the small country was carried out in 2014, according to Amnesty International. But international NGOs and the United Nations, that is the UN, regularly accuse the regime of forced disappearances, arbitrary detention, and torture. Reports show that the measure will come into force in the 90 days following its publication in the official state journal and was approved by Parliament in advance. Equatorial Guinea follows Central Africa Republic, that is the CAR, in May 2022, Chad in 2020, and Sierra Leone last year in banning capital punishment on the African continent in recent years. And away from Equatorial Guinea to Ghana, having you know that Ghana has declared an end to its first ever outbreak of the Marburg disease, nearly 2 months after the outbreak was declared. It was reported that the first 2 cases of infection with the Marburg virus were detected on July 4, and Ghana Health Service announced them on July 7, following preliminary laboratory tests, which followed the death of 2 people who reportedly displayed signs of the viral disease. According to Newsman, it was reported that no new cases of the virus have been recorded since then. And according to rules by the WHO, the country was declared free of the virus after 42 days or 2 incubation periods since the last reported case. In a related development, Moeti praised the West African nation for providing a rapid and robust response that saved lives despite having no previous experience with the disease. The Ghanaian epidemic was the second outbreak of the Marburg disease in West Africa after Guinea dealt with a single case outbreak between August and September 2021. We now move to other parts of Africa after this break. Don't go away. Always a delight to have you back to Hills TV on Africa Today. And this time we're looking at Uganda and having you know that Uganda slammed the resolution by the European Union's Parliament calling for halts to extractive activities and protected ecosystems in an oil project pipeline. According to Newsman, it is reported that by 2025, Uganda will have its oil coming out of the East Africa crude oil pipeline as planned. The comments of leader Yoweri Museveni reaffirmed its determination to have the project completed. Museveni's reaction came following a resolution by the European Union's Parliament urging the international community to exert maximum pressure on Ugandan and Tanzanian authorities as well as the project promoters and stakeholders to stop oil activities around Lake Albert. It is reported that Uganda is estimated to have recoverable oil reserves of at least 1.4 billion barrels. In February, the China National Offshore Oil Corporation and Total Energies said that the total investment would be more than $10 billion US. They have partnered with the Uganda National Oil Company and the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation. Thomas Tayebwa, the Deputy Speaker of the Assembly, said the National Assembly issued a statement asserting Uganda's sovereignty and condemning the EU's Parliament's resolution. The resolution is based on misinformation and deliberate misrepresentation of key facts on environment and human rights protection. It represents the highest level on neo-colonialism and imperialism against the sovereignty of Uganda and Tanzania. And away from that, let's get on to Tunisia and have you know that Tunisia's anti-terrorism police detained for one day Ali Larayedeh, a former prime minister and senior official in the Islamist opposition Ennahda party. This was disclosed by lawyers after an investigation into suspicions of sending jihadists to Syria. In a statement, Ennahda condemned the conditions of the investigation carried out by the anti-terrorism squad, describing it as a form of torture, abuse, a flagrant violation of human rights, and an undermining of dignity in fabricated cases and malicious accusations. According to his lawyers, who announced that the detention on Tuesday, Larayedeh, who was prime minister from 2013 to 2014, was interrogated for 14 hours on Monday on suspicion of sending jihadists to Syria. Ennahda's leader, Rachid Ghannouchi, who was also supposed to have been questioned on Monday, will be interrogated today. Security and official sources estimated that about 6,000 Tunisians traveled to Syria and Iraq in the last decade to join armed groups, including the ISIL, that is ISIS. Many were killed there, while others escaped and returned to Tunisia. Coming right up next on Africa Today is Business News. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. This is the Business Desk on Africa Today. Talking business, according to the Debt Management Office, that is the DMO, domestic debt has pushed Nigeria's total public debt stock from 41.60 trillion naira as of March 2022 to 42.84 trillion naira as of June of the same year, showing an increase of 1.24 trillion naira in the 3 months. According to Newsman, the total public debt stock, representing the domestic and external debt stocks of the federal government of Nigeria, the 36 state governments and the Federal Capital Territory, that is the FCT, was 42.84 trillion naira, which is also 103.31 billion US dollars as at June 30, 2022. The comparative figures for March 30, 2022 were 41.60 trillion naira, which is also 100.07 billion US dollars. According to reports, the federal government was unable to secure any foreign loans in the second quarter of 2022, with which the Debt Management Office, that is the DMO, noted that external debt remained the same at 16.61 trillion naira, which is 40.06 billion US dollars from quarter 1 to quarter 2, 2022. It also noted that domestic debt rose to 26.23 trillion naira, which is also 63.24 billion US dollars due to new borrowings by the government to part finance the deficit in 2022. The DMO further said that the total public debt to GDP as at June 30, 2022 was 23.06% compared to the ratio of 23.27% as at March 36, 2022, adding that the debt service to revenue ratio remained high. And now let's get on to Mozambique and have you know the Mozambique and IMF team have reached a staff-level agreement on the economic and financial policies that could support the approval of the first review of the program under the Extended Credit Facility, that is the ECF arrangement. The Extended Credit Facility provides financial assistance to countries with protracted balance of payments problems. It was gathered that all the quantitative and structural benchmarks set for the first review have been met, and good progress was made on the broader structural agenda. Looking ahead, the microeconomy environment remains challenging. According to Newsman, the authorities aim to continue implementing their ambitious economic reform agenda, including a sovereign wealth fund law, reform of public sector remuneration, and the amendment of the public property law, while agreement awaits the approval of the IMF Executive Board in December, which would enable the disbursement of about 63.8 million US dollars. The IMF granted May a 432 million euro loan to Mozambique, a first since it withdrew 6 years ago at the time after finding undisclosed debts in the so-called hidden debt scandal involving the government. Still to come in Africa Today is sports. Don't go away.
Very good afternoon to you and welcome to Sport News on Africa Today. I am Richard Badung. Offa VC is currently leading the men's table standing on day 4 of the opening 2022 Nigerian Volleyball League Premier League in Akure. Offa VC is the only club yet to taste defeat after beating defending champions Kano Pillars, Nigerian Police Force, Kwara United Volleyball Club and Sunshine Spikers, leading to winning all their 4 matches with a total of 12 points. NSCDC takes second position with 10 points, winning 3 matches and lost 1. The NSCDC only defeat was from the hands of the Nigerian Police Force. Nigeria Customs Service currently occupied 3rd place with 9 points after recording their first defeat from NSCDC out of 4 matches. Meanwhile, defending champions Kano Pillars have won just 1 game and recorded 3 defeats with a total of 3 points. Matches resume on Wednesday after 2 days of break at the ongoing 2022 National Volleyball Premier League. South Africa has indicated interest to bid to stage the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup, hoping to bring the event to Africa for the first time. The National Executive Committee, via South African Football Association, that is SAFA, Chief Executive Thembeko Motlanthe, statement released earlier today. South Africa was the first and so far only country on the continent to host the Men's World Cup in 2010. In July, South Africa became African champions for the first time after beating host Morocco in the final of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Rabat. Almost 2 years ago, Netherlands, Belgium and Germany launched a joint bid for the 2027 competition, and that will be among the South African proposals' principal rivals. Next year's tournament in Australia and New Zealand will be the first finals with 32 teams, an increase of 8 teams from France 2019. South Africa's women's side, Banyana, went out in the group stage on their first appearance at the World Cup in 2019. Still on the African continent, Black Stars of Ghana have held their first training session in France ahead of their pre-World Cup friendly matches against Brazil and Nicaragua. 24 players reported for the first day of training on Monday evening. Mohamed Salisu, Felix Afena-Gyan, Daniel Amate and goalkeeper Richard Ofori are the only 4 of the 29-man squad yet to report to camp. Hull City striker Benjamin Tete is expected to miss the 2 games after undergoing a successful surgery on Friday. New boys Inaki Williams, Tariq Lapte, Stefan Ambrosius and Ransford Yeboah have all reported to camp. Meanwhile, Ghana will play Brazil on Friday before facing Nicaragua 4 days later. And that's your sport news on Africa Today. Back to Udwak Daniel for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badum.
Welcome back to Africa Today on Hills TV. And that's Africa Today. But before we go, here are the headlines again. We told you National Assembly resumes 2023 budget, CJN confirmation top agenda. We also told you Equatorial Guinea repeals death penalty law. We brought to the fore the fact that Tunisia police detained former Prime Minister. And on sports, South Africa makes bid to host 2027 Women's World Cup. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV, Instagram at Hills TV. Our YouTube channel is at Hills TV. I am Udwak Daniel. Thank you for watching.